All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson on pretty much going into how, if you understand what righteousness is according to the Bible, right, then you will understand who the bad guys are on the earth right now, right? Because a lot of people have got a lot of stuff to say. You've got people that want to try and say that Hebrew Israelites are racist, and I want to say all of these things, but then if you look in their channels, right, there's one particular person that I can think of right now, in fact, and they've got like more than 50,000 people subscribed to their channel, and they've recently started trying to talk about Israelites, right, and trying to say that Israelites are this, Israelites are that. But if you look at any of their other videos on their channel, they're going into CERN, they're going into how people are drilling holes in the earth and all of these things, and I'm thinking, who's the one doing this stuff? Because it's definitely not somebody that looks like me doing it. I know that's for sure, right? And it just goes to show how much of a hypocrite these people are, man. And let's go into, this is Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So if the earth isn't given into the hand of the wicked right now, all right, and if we're not in if the earth isn't in the under the rulership of the wicked right now, then who is the wicked? Where is he? That's what the scripture's saying. And it's letting you know that the wicked covereth the face of the judges, right? And who are the judges of the earth? The Israelites. Who is it that's lied about the color of the Messiah? Who is it? You've got a lot of these people that want to try and pretend like they're about the Bible. Ask them a question about what the color of the Messiah is, and all you're gonna hear now is crickets, man. They ain't gonna be saying nothing. They ain't gonna have nothing to say, and they're just gonna be like, oh, why does it matter? That's the kind of way they're gonna be talking, man. These people don't really care about the Bible when you really examine these people, man. They're not really about the scriptures. They're about whatever they have to say or whatever they have to do to make sure that their people stay ruling, man. But then at the same time, they want to try and lie and pretend like they're about the church and all of that. No, you're not, man. You're not. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 13. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, meaning the hair on his head was white, and his facial hair was white, right? And now it's going to go into the color of his skin. And his eyes was a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they closed, as if burned in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of many waters. Now, I've did it before, right? If I was to take a copper coin, right, this what I'm wearing around my neck right now, this is brown, right? And my skin is darker than this, right? But if I was to take a copper coin and put it next to my skin, it's going to be pretty much exactly the same color, and I've done it before, man, right? But if it's hot weather and I'm outside a lot, then I'm going to go even darker than this. So Yahweh Shai was already, the scriptures are already saying that Yahweh Shai was real dark, man, real dark, and his skin tone was as if it was as it was like brass, as if it's been burned in a furnace, which is very dark, very extremely dark brown, a color that this world hates, right? But that's not it. That's not the only thing that these Edomites have did, right? They've lied about the color of the Messiah, right? But then they've also judged the world in a wicked way. And let me just go into this one here. Just this one thing, they're not even making be enacted out. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 4. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Now that's not done on this earth, right? That one thing right there is not even done on this earth. And let's go to some more, because you've got a lot of people out there that try and pretend as though they think that there's only 10 commandments. So let's go into it and let's see if these societies, if these Edomites are living up to the standard of even just the 10 commandments. Let's see. This is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So that's already letting you know that these things are for the Israelites, but everyone wants to try and pick up the Bible and make out like it's for them, right? Everyone wants to try and talk about the Bible and say that they're righteous, right? Everyone admits that God's ways are the right ways. They'll admit it with their voice anyway. So let's see if they're doing these things. Verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Is that what's happening over in the UK? Let's use that as an example. No, it's not. Is that what's happening over in America? No, it's not. They've got a whole bunch of different gods that they're allowed to be worshipped over there, man. A whole bunch. They celebrate Christmas over there. They're all about these things, man. They allow these different people to set up these different temples. They allow people to set up satanic temples. They allow these brothers did a very beautiful lesson yesterday, man. Wherever they was about how they've got all these Freemasonic temples around everywhere. So they're not on that. They're not about righteousness, these Edomites, man. They're about pure wickedness. Verse 4, thou shalt make, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth, which they do that. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So not only do they change the image of the Messiah, make him look like some Edomite, right? But then if you go into these Catholic churches, right, you'll see that they've set up shrines to a fake image and they're burning candles to it, man. And they've got a whole room dedicated to it that people take candles and burn the candles to these things, right? Verse 6, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. And these people are not keeping Yahweh's commandments. That's what Ezra saw, right? Who in the Hebrew his name is, I believe, Isaiah. He saw that when he saw and looking at the Babylonians and all these other different people, he was seeing that they ain't keeping God's laws, yet they still are getting good things and receiving good things, because really Yahweh requires the Israelites to keep God's laws. 2.38 billion Christians across the world, and about 1 point something, or maybe it might be in the twos now, billion worth of Muslims in the world. So that's more than half of the Earth's population. So why is the world so wicked then? If all of these people are following these two things, if these two things are so righteous? Because the thing that they're not following is God's laws, which is a moral code that was given to the Israelites, that the Israelites are going to receive in perfection under the new covenant, which was prophesied in both the new covenant and the old covenant, or the New Testament, which is the same thing as saying covenant, and the Old Testament, which is the same thing as saying covenant again. The old covenant was one way, right, where you had to consciously think of keeping God's laws as an Israelite. But the new covenant is going to be where you are going to receive it in an unconscious way. You're just going to involuntarily keep God's laws. It's going to be programmed in you to do these things that your soul's always been desiring to do, so that you can receive the blessings of the covenant rather than the curses. And it's not for nobody else other than the Israelite. Let's carry on. This is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 7. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy power in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. And let's just say for a second, let's pretend right now, right, that the name of the Messiah was that word that everyone says, which I don't even want to say it, man, Jesus. Let's pretend that was the real name. Well, don't you see just any like construction worker when they bang their toe screaming that out? Don't you just see any bugged out demon that just says that? Any person, any scumbag just says that as if that's the real name, man. All of them. So let's not pretend as though, let's say that was the name, which is not. But they'd be doing that exact thing right there. Verse 8. Remember the Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now, I'm not trying to make it like I keep the Sabbath days every single time either. But let's just say that Esau made it a law to where if you didn't, you'd be punished according to the God's laws. Then people would want to do it more. But they don't do that. They make sure that every single company can run as many hours as possible, 24-hour gym, 24/7 gyms, 24/7 supermarkets, 24/7 you're working, right? And then people try and make out like the Sabbath day is always just a Saturday or Sunday, right? But the Sabbath changes, man, because it's based on moon cycles. So it's not always going to be the Saturday and Sunday, Monday, Friday, and all of that. Those are days that men put names on. That's not how Yahweh deals with things. Yahweh still guides his time by the moon. Verse 8, Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou do labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of Yahweh thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. But that's what happens here. But these Edomites try and make it like there's only 10 commandments, but they can't even manage to make that. Let's say we can't. Let's say I can't do it, right? But this world would say that I'm a Hamite anyway, which is not true. But they'll say I'm a Hamite, so I shouldn't be able to, right? But they'll, even those people that are claiming to be the people, are they doing even this? No, they're not, man. No, they're not. They're over in that land, right? And they've got a code word for pork, white steak, or they say kazeel. So don't try it, man. Exodus chapter 20, Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which Yahweh thy power have given thee. And these Edomites do not honor their mother or father. They'll be the quickest one to smack their parent upside the head, man. With a brick, with a rock, with a bow and arrow. They'll be real quick to do that. There's one movie out there. What's it called, man? It's called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And it just shows how wicked these Edomites are, man. And I ain't gonna spoil it in case anybody wants to watch it. It's called We Need to Talk About Kevin. And it just pretty much shows what Psalm 58 and 3 is, which I might be saying quoting the wrong scripture, but the scripture where it says the wicked are estranged from the womb, they go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Now let me carry on. Oh man, this next one. The Edomites definitely don't do this. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 14. And verse 13. Exodus 20 and verse 13. Thou shalt not kill. That's Esau's whole thing. That's what he's about, man. That's what he lives for. So they ain't keeping this. They're the bad. If you understand what God's laws are, right? You'll understand who the bad guys on the earth are, man. You'll understand who they are, right? You'll understand who they are. You'll understand perfectly who the Edomites are. Verse 15, verse 14, thou shalt not commit adultery. They love that too. They make whole websites to where married people can freak off with each other, man. Verse 15, thou shalt not steal. Oh man. They're the number one thieves, right? They might say, oh, well, a black guy stole my nan's purse back in 1952, right? Well, you stole his whole culture and his whole heritage 300 plus years before that, and are still stealing stuff right now. And let's see if you Edomites are so righteous, because Uganda, right? Uganda's found 12 trillion worth of gold. Let's see if you Edomite demons are going to be over there, man. Pretending like you're going over there for some tourism. We've heard it's lovely this time of year. You devils, man. You're going to be over there, all up in that land, man. With some, what's it called, man? What did that brother say it's called before? Gunboat diplomacy, man. You're going to be all over up in that land with that. You are the bad guys of the earth, man. You are the bad guys in this story. That's why it's you are the people that have been making this thing that everyone has been having injected into themselves, right? It was you that did that, right? It was you that was these people that was making everybody be walking around like this, right? With things on their face, right? That was you people, right? That wasn't us. That was not us. It was you people that was closed down the whole everything. Not us. It weren't us that did that. And it weren't no joint effort. You did it. So just the same way you like the credit for everything, well, you can take the blame then. Since you want to always boast about how you're in charge and you're this and you're that, and how you invent everything, well, you invented this too. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 16, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And they love to bear false witness against everyone, man. They've bared the most false witness against us, the Israelites. They've said that we're black, for starters. There's not even one black thing apart from my facial hair and my eyebrows that's on this whole thing that you're seeing right now. But someone would still say that it's a black person talking smack or whatever they want to say. They'll say whatever they want to say, man. But where's the black though? When my skin's clearly brown, that's false witness. They've said that the Messiah, forget me, they've said that the Messiah came to save everybody. That's false witness. They've said that God loves everybody. That's false witness too. They've said that the law is done away with. That's false witness. They've tried to say that Paul's a false prophet. That's false witness. They've tried to say that everyone can be an Israelite. That's false witness. They've said that the 144,000 are Jehovah's Witnesses. That's false witness. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And these Edomites love to do that, man. They're gonna be coveting that gold that I mentioned, that 12 trillion. Yeah, that 12 trillion worth of gold, man. They're gonna be coveting that. You know it. The first thing that, as soon as I heard about that sprang to my mind is Esau's gonna be over there in no time. In no time, man. Because they're just thieves, man. The scriptures say in Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 11, if you know what, let me read it. Because I know where it is anyway, so I may as well read it, man. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 and verse 11. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. So if the way how these Edomites look at things is right, if it bleeds, I can kill it. So if somebody's got something to say against them and they examine the stats of weaponry, right? And they say, well, you know what, we've got more weapons than them. So I don't care what they got to say. I don't have to use no strategic talk about anything what I'm gonna do. Let my strength be the law of justice. If I can defeat him in a battle, then I'm right. That's how Edomites look at things, man. And that's why when it comes to Russia, who are also Edomites, right? They have to try and move a bit more diplomatic then. You know what I mean? They have to try and be a bit more nice. They have to use a bit more soft words with how they go about things. Because they know that if they take it there, they're Edomites too. And they're on the same thing as you, even though they do it a different way, man. Esau knows how Esau gets down. And that's why when they come against other Edomites, they bug out, man. That's why the whole world bugged out that Russia went into Ukraine. Because they wouldn't have bugged out if Russia did the same thing in Uganda. They would have believed whatever story had to be told. The Ugandans are terrorists. They're chopping people's toes off or whatever. You know what I mean? They're against alphabet doctrine. Whatever BS they would have had to be told, they would have accepted it and swallowed that up and ate it up instantly. But when it came to some Edomites, you had people literally saying, this is a bit difficult for me because I'm seeing people with blonde hair and blue eyes being murdered, as if they're immune from being able to die. They sin too, right? They ain't keeping God's laws, right? The difference between them and us, though, is when we didn't keep God's laws as Israelites, Yahweh put us under the curses, man. But these other nations don't get that. But let me just read this, because all you nations that want to try and claim Israelites and want to try and claim what we've got, you're gonna feel what it's been like to be an Israelite, man. You're gonna feel what this pain felt like, man. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So if you're a person that's not an Israelite, right? If you didn't do nothing to us, well, you ain't gonna have to go through them curses. But if you did something to us, then you are gonna have to go through them curses. Did every single person that's not an Israelite do something to the Israelites? Yes. So there's your answer. You're gonna be going through the curses. It's just simple and plain, man. You don't have to believe it. We didn't believe it neither. But then the next thing you know, we're on ships. Then the next thing you know, we're not calling ourselves our nationality anymore. Then the next thing you know, we ain't got nothing. And we're having to go to our enemy for the want of all things. The next thing you know, the men of our nation hate each other, the women of our nation hate each other, right? And then the men hate the women and the women hate the men, which is exactly what Yahweh said he was going to do. Just like how he said he's going to take the Edomites down and he's gonna do that. You Edomites are the bad guys of the earth, man. Like it's not a hard thing to understand. Let's go to some more. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings. In fact, no, that's it. That's the 10. Yeah, that's the 10. So let me go to some more things to prove that you Edomites are the bad guys of this thing, man. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, which by that wine it means by doctrines that he pushes out, and he's made the whole earth drunk, right? The scriptures say that Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, which has made the whole earth drunken, and it's not talking about ancient Babylon. It's talking about Babylon the Great, right? Babylon the Great has been used, which is America, has been used to make every other nation feel like it's okay to be wicked, man. They think that sinning's okay. And America's made it seem okay. And they've used Israelites as the face of the wickedness in a lot of places, man. If you pay attention, you'll see that they've slowly made Israelites the face of this alphabet stuff, man. Of this LG stuff. They've slowly did that. They've been putting the men in dresses. Complete abominations, man. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto himself all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And that's what Esau does, man. They complain about melting pots. But if you ask yourself, well, why are all these people over here in this so-called melting pot? You'll find out the root is that some Edomite went over to their country and stole up everything, man. Some Edomite went to where they was first, right? And that's the reason why everyone moved out of their particular land, because you came over there and bothered them. It's not because they came over and bothered you. No one ain't really going over to these so-called European countries, which I'm going to use the real name. No one ain't going to these Edomite countries and just bothering them, man. No one ain't doing that. No one ain't troubling them. No one ain't going over to America and bothering these people. And it's even been made, it's even more like a more common belief now that whole Twin Towers thing, that they did it themselves, man. That's what the general belief is among people. They don't believe that it was no other people doing that. They believe that was done as an excuse for them to try and run up in other people's countries, man. So you're the bad guys, man. You Edomites, these Edomites are the bad guys of this whole story, man. They just are. It's just true. Let's go to another one. And I'll end the lesson here. I'll end the lesson here after this. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take. You know what? Let me go back on that first verse. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And this whole disease thing that's flown around for the last 2 years has transferred a whole bunch of wealth from the poor into the hands of the rich, man. Yet still, everyone wants to try and point out like a so-called black man is the problem with the earth. And we know as Israelites why that is. It's because we're under the curses, right? But slowly, but surely, the truth's going to come out about who the actual bad guys are on the earth, man. And an example of a story on this particular topic that you can find in the Bible is the story of Esther, man. Right? The book of Esther. You had Esther there. She was like a wife to to a heiress, I believe it was. And then you had her uncle Mordecai, that he was a humble man and a righteous man. And then you had Haman, who was an Edomite, who was the number 2 of a heiress, and he was sour that Mordecai didn't want to bow down to him, so he tried to get Mordecai killed, man. And not only Mordecai, he tried to get all of the Israelites slaughtered and made it become a law and lied about them, saying that there's a people in your land that they don't do this, they don't do that, that they're bad people, and was causing for the Israelites to be killed. And then what ended up happening as a result of that, it was revealed that he was actually the problem. And he ended up dying by the way that he had planned to have Mordecai killed. And then it was found out that actually the Israelites' laws are a good way. And that's a small example of what's going to happen on a mass scale, because that happened in the past. That's a real story that happened, right? But a way more bigger event of a similar type is going to happen when it's revealed for a certain fact that these people are exactly who we've said they are, and that they are the Edomites, man. Let me get verse 2. Micah chapter 2 and verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence. That's what Esau does. And houses, that's what Esau does. And take them away. That's what Esau does. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. That's what Esau does. When they make movies, they're everyone, right? They're literally every culture. If it's a movie about the Great Wall of China, it's them doing it. If it's a movie about Egyptians, it's them doing it. If it's a movie about the Israelites, it's them doing it. If it's a movie about Hawaiians, it'll be them doing it. If it's a movie about Japanese, it'll be them doing it. If it's an anime about Japanese characters, right? The characters that are supposed to be Japanese will look like Edomites. Like it's just the truth, man. This is what they do. Verse 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, let me read it again. Verse 3. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall you go haughtily, for the time is evil. And that's regarding you Edomites, man. Verse 4. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He have changed the portion of my people. How have he removed it from me? Turning away, he have divided our fields. And that's what's going to happen to you Edomites, man. Right? These Edomites are, man, you Edomites are the bad guys of this whole thing, man. Every single nation on the earth has got something to say about you. And the only reason, let me get the scripture, man. The only reason why people deal with you is because you've got riches, right? If you didn't have these riches, no one would want to be with you, man. And really, if you didn't have the sword, but Yahweh's going to use your own sword against you. Because the same way how you've conquered the world is the same way how you're going to lose it. He that live by the sword must die by the sword. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. This is Sirach chapter 10 and verse 30. The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? Let me read it again. The poor man is honored for his skill. That would be the Israelites, man. We're honored for the things that we can do physically, right? For our singing skills, for our dancing skills, for our boxing skills, for the things that we can make, right? There was an Israelite recently that he made a machine that turned air, right? Normal, everyday breathing air into drinking water. So you're trying to tell me that Edomites didn't know that this could be done? You think he's probably the first Israelite to try and do that? You think that Esau doesn't know that this stuff can be done? He knows, but he don't want to do that. He doesn't want that to be done, man. And it's not the time for righteous inventions like that to be getting made, because this is the rulership of the wicked right now. But it's just a quick sign and shows that when us the Israelites are in power, all the crazy things that we're gonna make, man, all the things we're gonna make as a benefit for the world rather than as a thing that destroys it. Let me read this. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 30 again. The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. So being honored for your riches don't mean nothing, man. Because as soon as you lose that riches, you've lost it. But a poor man can get riches, right? But a rich man, he's just going to be honored for his riches, man. And that's you Edomites. You're only honored for your riches. People don't, when you see a homeless Edomite, right? They ain't getting no reverence in this world. People don't want to hear nothing what they got to say. People ain't trying to hear it. People ain't trying to vibe with them. They don't want to hear nothing they've got to say, man. And the Edomite will still be proud because he might have £2.50 in his pocket, right, and tears in his jeans. But when he looks up, he'll see that there's another Edomite there that's got billions. But when there's not no Edomite that they can look to say, see, we've got this, we've got that, that's when they're going to be dishonorable and they're going to be cast down, man. Verse 31, he that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? So if we as the Israelites receive so much praise now, how much more praise are we going to receive when we receive the new covenant and we get the riches back that was stolen from us? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So Esau is hated now. The Edomites are not like now, man. And it's not because of their skin tone, it's because of what they did. Like they always try and use that skin tone talk as an excuse, as if they're not the ones that invented the way of this of differentiating people by their skin tone anyway. That was their invention. Johann Blumenbach. That wasn't the invention of nobody else. That was something that they came up with. So it's not because of the skin, it's because of what you do. It's because of the evil in your heart, man. That's naturally in there. The evil that you know yourself is in there. Verse 31. So right, chapter 10 and verse 31. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So they ain't gonna have no respect when they lose it all, man. And that's why when an Edomite loses their money, what's one of the first things that they do, man? Find the highest peak and they dive off a lot of the time, man. Because they already can know that they're not receiving nothing good if they ain't got riches. Their life's nothing without riches, man. I'm gonna end the lesson there. The Edomites are the bad guys of this thing, and it's very obvious who the Edomites are, man. It's very obvious. The complete opposite of us. That is the Edomites. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.